Hey, Nigerian exjw speaks here. Let me look in the camera this time. I am terribly guilty of looking the wrong way. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're having a good week. Can't believe it's Wednesday again. It's time for another chat, another video. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Trust. I am a former Jehovah's Witness from Nigeria, and I make videos here about, life after leaving, life after leaving the religion, and being here as an extra support for people either in the journey or have recently left, and sharing, some thoughts and talk about other things as they come up for me as well. I'm not going to waffle on too much and say every week about what we do here, but that's what it is. I'm getting quite a collection of videos on here now that you can go ahead and catch up on after this one. Why not? If you like what it's about, like and subscribe so that we can get that ratio working well. I think most people who are watching are not subscribed. I don't know why, but there you go. Okay, hope you're doing well. So today, what I wanted to talk about, after the last video that I made, I was gonna say, should we go for something lighter? I don't know where this sort of fits into that, because this is not something, how do I put it? I'm not angry about it, but I have questions, I have thoughts, and I want to hear what you think. So it's the perception of women in the witness faith. I'm a woman myself, and some things were interesting growing up. So growing up in Nigeria, it's sort of a double whammy effect, at least compared to the UK where I currently live. Nigeria is still, at least when I was growing up there, and do you know what? Probably is still that way in a lot of ways. It's quite traditional in this sense of male patriarchy. And so when you have a combination of that sort of culture combined with the witness, again, it's patriarchal, in my opinion, and I will share some thoughts that I think make me feel that way. When you put those two together, you really end up in a situation where the women basically have no say, and they are just there to be led and to just follow and do whatever they're told to do. And so I always found that quite interesting. If I'm honest, it is something that I knew that I would struggle with. That's never really sat right with me. That whole idea of submission, that word irks me. And, I know that there are some of you that left and remain Christian and still subscribe to that, because one of the things that I shared in my waking up video and how the Bible sort of fell short of that as well, I think it was on there that I said it, was that no matter how crazy I thought the witness teaching was, they had Bible verses to back up the stuff that they were saying, or the Bible verses that they could take to back up whatever they were saying. So whenever we would read that scripture, I have my laptop in front of me, Ephesians, sort of wives being submission, that used to irk me, and I would get into debates because I was quite argumentative as a child, not to my parents, but I liked getting into discussion debates. I was part of the debating society. That was my place. I don't know how I managed to do it, seeing that I have a stutter, but that was my thing. I liked to get into debates, and that never really sat right with me. And so I have some thoughts, I have some questions, I have some downright ridiculous quotes and stuff to share that, just for me shows me that it is patriarchal, and I don't know how women can stick with it, to be honest. Starting a bit heavy. Gosh, it's not funny. It's the Leah Remini documentary. I believe that was maybe last year or 2 years ago, where they had a group of witnesses being interviewed, and there was this lady. I will see if I can find a photo of her or something. There I am, committing myself to editing, but I'll try. Where she was sharing her story of her husband and how he was abusive towards her. And of course, as a witness, you are trained to go to the elders when something happens, rather than being an adult human being and thinking for yourself, or if it needs to be a case of getting the authorities involved. But what you do is you go to the elders, and they basically tell you what to do. And she went to the elders on multiple occasions. Somehow she was being blamed for the abuse that was happening to her. And what's the effect of if she wasn't the way she was, then maybe that would not have been happening.
I became associated with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was 13. Many of us teenagers, we were in a rush to get married because we thought that if we made it through Armageddon, we'd have to be single. And nobody really wants to be alone. So I got married in 1974 to the first guy that came along, and it was the biggest mistake I made of my life. The young Jehovah's Witness boy that I had married became extremely abusive. I was taking it for a while, but then I started to get really upset about it and angry.
What was the frame of mind being a Jehovah's Witness?
Well, my frame of mind was that, I was supposed to be a submissive wife. I thought, is this being a submissive wife? So I went to go tell the elders, and I had a talk with one of the elders, and then he just looks at me and he says, well, why don't you stop nagging him? And I said, well, can't you even talk to him about it? And he says, no, you just need to learn how to be more submissive. And then he proceeds to read to me a proverb. And it said something like, better than a man should live up on his rooftop rather than inside the house with a contentious wife. So basically he was telling me that I was the problem. I was the cause of my own abuse.
And I think for me, that was probably the first sort of blatant case of hearing that, because I was fortunate in the sense that even though I grew up in Nigeria, which growing up around me, it was not uncommon for a man to hit his wife, and it wouldn't be something that the police would get involved in. It would be seen as just a domestic, and that's what they called it. And it wasn't that unusual, which is quite sad. But I was fortunate in the sense that that was never something that I saw my dad do, and I don't think that was his style. If anything, it would be more like the silent treatment kind of guy, where they're just shut down, and sometimes that can be quite painful. But yeah, so in terms of that was never something that I saw, and so that was I did see it around me, but not in my own family per se. And at that time, I think I probably had the impression that, witness men don't do that, because you hear about they are meant to love their wives as their own body, which I thought that was a great thing, at least. And so, of course, that was why they didn't do that. But actually, when you look down on that, you can see why something like that happens. If you think someone is under you, is supposed to submit to you no matter what, you can see how that can escalate to, I can do whatever I want with them, rather than someone that is in a partnership with you, that is an equal partner, that you are choosing to live life together. So yeah, and then I've started to hear that actually within the witness faith, that wasn't uncommon.
As a sister in the congregation, it's highly patriarchal, and I would venture to say even misogynistic. The general tenor of most congregations is that women, I think second-class citizen doesn't even come close. It's more of you have your place, and it is way below men.
And hearing in more recent talks where essentially, I think it was Tony Morris in one of his videos, where they were praising a woman who had stayed with a partner who was abusive to her. And that's just dangerous rhetoric. I mean, how little value must you think of the welfare and the well-being of that woman to put it out there that women should be staying with partners that are abusive to them? How little must you think of those women? Going back to where I think probably for the witnesses, where it all starts, the Bible has some funny rhetoric as well that would surprise that. It's too much of a story. I'm not going to go into it. But when you read the book, it's clearly a male-dominated book. That's why I think it looks like a man-made book, because it just reflects the spirit of humanity as it's been in general, where a lot of the time is men that are calling the shots. And when you read the stories, the names of men, the exploits of men, they're told in great detail. You get a handful of women that are talked about. It's like the token bits of women that's thrown in, but for the most part, it's about men. You know, what the men are doing, how the men are taking all these wives, and they are shown mostly in good light. And, you know, starting from the quote unquote very first woman, where the Bible says that Eve was deceived and Adam wasn't. And I know even today, preachers that latch onto that and say, see, women, they started it, they were deceived, and they are the reason for everything being wrong. And there are genuinely movements of people who actually think that, who think women are the root of all the problems, believe wholeheartedly in the Adam and Eve fable, and think that there you go, you can never trust them. Some interesting quotes that I have. So we have the comment from Sam Hurd, our only non-white member of the governing body. I know recently Lloyd's done something about the relationship of the history of race within the witness faith. Maybe I'll get into it at some point. I'm bracing myself with all the crazy stuff that's going on in America right now. That's made me cry a few times. What's going on, you guys, America? What is going on? Seriously, can you get your act together? Get your act together. It's not on for people to just be getting killed like that. But anyway, I might talk about that another time. But we have Sam Hurd, who is our token non-white person in the governing body, and he is quoted as saying that, you know, the cranial capacity of women is 10% smaller than a man, and then he extrapolates that to mean, so there you go, they are not fit to lead, and he actually says that out loud.
You know, scientists say that the cranial capacity of a woman is 10% smaller than that of man. Science also has discovered that the skull of a woman is lighter than that of a man. So now this shows that she's just not equipped for the role of headship. Her role is one of subjection to the man.
And I see, how do I put this? For me, that's just ignorant. It's not even worth getting angry about. There are more pressing things that this organization does that I can be mad about. Yes, of course, if you follow it down the line, that's how you get men feeling superior and, you know, being able to abuse women that the way they are. So yes, there can be real consequences if you take that down fully. But in terms of the words itself, maybe because I've never really taken to it, so it just sounds stupid. It just sounds stupid when we have examples upon examples of women who are running things, who are clearly smarter than these governing body men that we have, making a difference, making an impact. Absolutely bonkers, absolutely ridiculous. The other thing you notice as well, when they make their videos, or even in the magazines, when they're dramatizing a family, you usually see the women sort of in the kitchen tucked away, and that's usually where they have them, which I'm not saying that's wrong. Everybody's got to eat, but why does she always have to be in there? Like, are we in like 200 years ago? I don't understand. So leading on from that as well, you have silly things like a woman has got to cover her hair if she has to pray when there is no baptized Jehovah's Witness person there. You guys remember that, right? Any of you who were a witness yourself, you know, vouch for that. Tell me any funny stories you have about that. I remember my mom used to do that, you know, cover her hair when my brother was there or something like that. And looking back, that is bizarre. But then again, you know, it's in the Bible. What can you say? That's crazy. Yeah. The other thing as well, you have cases where women, of course, they can't be part of the governing body. That's just like, are you kidding me? They're not invited at all anywhere near it. I don't think they'll even be part of the helpers. So not even in that category. Well, do you know what? Let's start from the bottom. They can't be elders or ministerial servants. In terms of how much they can aspire to, at most missionary, And even then, that's when they're in a couple. I don't think they can go be missionaries by themselves. Somebody correct me if you know a woman who went to Gilead school as a single woman. I'll be very surprised to hear that. So that is as far as she can go. And of course, being the wife of any of these men, but in her own right. Yeah, I don't think she can do that in her own right. So I think we're going to stop at special pioneer then. Yeah, that's as far as she can go. I don't know. Again, it's a Bible thing, isn't it? They are getting that from the Bible. But then again, you read the same Bible. The last church that I went to before I packed up Christianity completely, the church was led by a couple. And some weeks the woman was preaching, and for me that was different, and they found a way to explain that. I mean, when I was still in the questioning phase and trying to figure out if mainstream Christianity was right compared to the witnesses, I used to say, how are you justifying that? In fact, on some level, I was wondering if they were right, but somehow they find a way to explain it. Of course, that would never happen in the witness faith, because how dare you? How dare you as a woman teach? I mean, you can't stand in a platform and give a speech if you've never been a witness. The most a woman can do in terms of speaking publicly is, be asked questions like in an interview by a man. So the man is asking questions and she's there to answer it, or she is enacting a preaching scenario with another, mostly woman, so they can talk to each other. But how dare you teach a man? And I wonder, what is it about the female genitalia, or the physical differences? What is it about that makes you more suitable to either stand facing someone or stand facing the audience? What is the logic in that? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, it goes back to the Bible saying, of Paul, whoever, that let women keep silent and ask questions of their husbands at home. They are meant to be quiet and, shut up, basically. And the witnesses take that seriously. You have a case where the women can't handle the microphone. So when they have their question and answer session, which is, ridiculous, only men can take the microphone to whoever is answering. I don't know what it is about the genitalia that means that a woman can't do that. I don't understand, but that's how far it goes. Anything else I'm missing out that's completely bizarre and silly? Those of you that have been witnesses, put that in there and let me know. So those are some of the thoughts and observations that I have. Like I said, it was something that I was always going to struggle with. I was not cool with that at all, but it was just the way it was. And women, you're meant to know your place. And unfortunately, when that's taken to the full extent and have women being completely disempowered, you get to a point where they can be abused and somehow be made to feel guilty for wanting to leave and start afresh. It is giving a good witness for them to sit there and take it. We have cases of, similar cases. A man is, found to be committing a sin or whatever, and he is brought before the elders. The wife is not allowed to be there, even if it's perhaps him cheating on her. Her as the partner isn't allowed to be there and actually know what's happened. Whereas if you have it the other way around, if it's the woman that's cheated or whatever, if she's brought before the elders, her husband has a right to be there and hear it because he's her head. And it's just bizarre. Don't come for me if you are someone who still sort of abides by that, lives by that. I just think it doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that men and women are exactly the same. I don't think that. I think we have our strengths, and actually in some ways it's sort of a spectrum. I don't think there are characteristics and traits that are, purely this and purely that. There is a broad range of things across both. ends of the scale. And when two people come together to either be married or be in a partnership, I think the idea of having someone that is going to be submitting in eternal subservientness, if that is a word, I think that is very problematic, and I don't think that there is a place for that in this day and age. I think that people should be playing to their strengths within the relationship and come together and work in a partnership. I mean, says me who is single, but all the relationships that I have been in, that submission thing, it's not going to work. No, it doesn't work. No can do. And I struggled with that concept as well while I was in there. I think while I was a witness, I only had the one relationship, and fortunately it was someone who I don't think he was all the way there. So there you go. But yes, that would have been difficult. So I want to hear your thoughts as well. I mean, when I was looking through this, countless stories of them praising all these women who were so submissive, who did exactly as they're told, who put up with whatever it is they needed to put up with. And, husband is the head. And what's his name? I think I'm just chit-chatting now. What's this guy with the weird facial expressions? This governing body, Stephen Lett making fun of the women liberation movement, calling it women lips.
There's a lot of groups in today's world that would have our sisters believe to be in subjection to a man is belittling. It's demeaning. There's groups like Women's Lib. One brother called it Women's Lip, L-I-P instead of L-I-V, just change a letter there.
That sort of silliness that we get to when someone is trying to ask for equality. The person who has had the privilege, their rights to just be on top the whole time, they want to belittle them. I know some people say that it has gone too far the other way. It's part of growth, and let's see each other as equals and as partners. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. We'll probably come to this topic another time. No, a bit too inflammatory. Before I go, so a bit of an announcement. And so it is the fourth Sunday of the month this weekend, and what that means is live stream Sunday. So on the last Sunday of every month, I have a live stream where I come on and we have a chit chat. So that's coming up this Sunday. I am looking forward to that. I want to hear how your month's been, what's been going on. If I think of some topics, I'll try and notify you of that as well. But the idea is just come have a chat about what's happening. The conventions, anything that's on your mind, just to have a catch up there. So join me this Sunday. I will put the time on there. I believe it's 9 o'clock UK time. I don't know what that's what that is for you guys wherever you are, but I will schedule it so that you can have it as a reminder as well coming up to that. Okay, lots of rambling today. Like I said, comment. I want to hear your thoughts. What stories do you have? What was your experience of the whole how women were treated, or what was it like if you're a woman yourself, or you just observed it? What was that like? What would you say it compares now? And of course, different things going to work for different people. But yes, I want to hear your thoughts as well. And subscribe so that more people can see this and share it as well. Before you go, if you're staying on, I'm going to put a video here, another video that you can watch next, because if you're at home sitting, absolutely, why not do that? And I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.